As the world races to set rules for artificial intelligence or AI from the United States and Europe to China, the question now is how these global frameworks will influence businesses and innovation on the ground. To explore that perspective, we are joined by a representative from EuroCham Vietnam, the European Chamber of Commerce, which represents the voice of European businesses operating in the country. Europe has taken the lead with the world's first comprehensive AI regulation with the EU AI Act. From your perspective, what were the key principles or values that guided Europe in developing this legal framework?
So it started with the GDPR. We have a lot of different regulation that Europe has been working on. And the AI Act is the extension of that with the intent to regulate this very new technology that is extremely disruptive. And the idea is to make sure that the immense potential of AI is attained, is enabled, all the while limiting the risks and making sure there are counter powers and balances to this extremely powerful technology.
The EU AI Act follows a risk-based approach, classifying AI systems into different levels of risk. Could you share how this approach helps balance innovation with safety and ethical standards in practice?
So the idea behind the risk-based approach is to have a burden from the compliance that is not at the same level for everybody. So for example, if you want to make an AI system that bears very minimal risks for the citizens, for the society, then you should not have too much burden in compliance. So we're talking, for example, a spam filter is AI, a video game AI bears minimal risk. So you have limited risk. A chatbot, for example, it does not have a huge risk, but you should still disclose that you're discussing with an AI, for example. Then we reach higher risk, like credit scoring, AI in healthcare level is for example, for predictive policing, for credit scoring, social scoring. This is considered prohibited because we do not want to go there. How does it help balance with ethical standards? My take is that through providing a stable framework, because this is the idea, we actually provide a clear playground for the innovators, for the entrepreneurs.
Implementation is always challenging. How is the EU ensuring that businesses, especially startups and SMEs, can comply with the AI Act without being overwhelmed by regulation?
You're pointing at a major problem with the AI Act, and when it was announced and rolled out a couple of years ago. And so the way to ensure not overwhelming startups and SMEs with regulation is actually, in my opinion, to enable a real dialogue and to involve all the stakeholders into building the framework. So we are talking about, of course, lawyers, public servants, academics, but all the engineers, they're important. Myself being one, I can advocate for that. Business people and citizens. And if the regulators do listen to all these different stakeholders, only then they will be able to achieve a regulation that is comprehensive or that is taking into account the different perspectives.
Once again, thank you for joining our program. Now, around the world, many efforts are being made to build a global AI governance framework. So what do you think are the biggest gaps that still remain?
So the biggest problem is the fact that you've got the regional US, EU, China. So the regional interests are developing governance in their own way, and they're quite different. So that's fragmentation. What we hope to see is that a very broad set of principles being set at an international level, but that's more about processes and procedures. More importantly, we need all the connections to the technology. And what we really hope is that enough people, the public, the governments, are making enough noise, the big companies producing AI, but also the countries managing AI, to prompt them to all do the right thing.
Now, from a perspective of an expert in machine learning, so what do you think is the top priority in designing an effective AI governance framework?
I'd like to compare this with the field of engineering. You know, you can build bridges, you can build high skyscrapers, they're amazing, and they have the safety, they know how to manage it. So we in AI have to build that field of AI engineering with management processes and safety processes. We need to be able to a transparent look at what that AI is thinking about right now. And that's one area that's in development. We also need traceability and logging. And the development needs to manage the data so that these horrible privacy incidents won't occur.
AI is rapidly influencing the way we live, work, and make decisions. Yet, without clear ethical or legal boundaries, it risks causing real-world harm. In the absence of global standards, many communities and businesses are not waiting. They are taking the lead, developing their own paths to adapt and thrive in this fast-changing landscape.
China is setting 50 national standards by 2026, aiming to regulate its fast-growing AI industry across key technologies and applications.
AI regulations set red lines and protect core safety standards. They enable global cooperation and open access to international markets.
Human-centered AI is central at MILA, a Montreal-based institute leading global research on ethics, fairness, and human rights in AI.
When AI goals clash with human values, the result can be dangerous. Without clear rules, unethical firms will move fastest at the cost of the public good.
Tech firms are bringing AI ethics into classrooms. Microsoft does it through Minecraft, teaching kids how to use AI responsibly through play.
Why does AI potentially have bias, and how do we avoid that? And so we're starting to teach children not just how to use AI, but to think about AI use in everyday life and how they would build upon that. And we do that in a game-based way.
Step by step, these efforts are shaping a more ethical AI future. One grounded in shared responsibility.
Now we talk about the concept about bottom-up ethics in quotes in AI governance that emphasizes the role of communities. Now, what are your thoughts on this approach?
Let me say that a lot of the software developed in the past and a lot of the cybersecurity is done by community, right? It's not necessarily a national body putting things down. And that has worked very effectively. Cybersecurity, there's a lot of individual players. So I have no doubt that this approach has to be done. And we have a number of strong communities here. For instance, AI in Vietnam is an organization which is building AI systems with Vietnamese language capability. So that's a community that can help in this area. And there are others, but there's no doubt that this will be an important part of it because top-down is policies management, yes, but top-down doesn't know the details at the bottom. And so really it's going to be an important part of the approach.
In your view, how will the participation of developers, startups, or user communities influence the future of shaping AI governance?
I would hope they'll have a big influence, is my hope. But I expect the major influencers will be the big companies. And we know companies like Microsoft take this very seriously. They've got very well developed systems and policies in place. The small community, the users, the small businesses trying to make an AI agent that's going to solve a particular real estate problem or something, they're the ones actually delivering AI in the community. And I hope we see a lot more of them. The smaller people who are bringing up issues and bringing them to light that is really significant. And that's why this UNESCO effort is so important. You know, UNESCO is really highlighting these issues, and we want to see these issues raised by the community when they find them, so that we can then take action. Because it's not going to be someone in a big organisation, you know, ChatGPT, who finds some of the serious problems, right? It's going to be someone trying to do real estate development, someone building a school educational system. I really hope they will be outspoken and work with the...
I think I would totally agree. As the UN Secretary General stated, the question is no longer whether AI will transform our world, because it already has. The question is whether we will govern this transformation together or let it govern us. Alongside its advantages, AI also poses ethical and legal challenges, making it essential to establish an appropriate policy framework for its governance. And a robust policy framework is not only a legal safeguard, but also a driver for AI to become a tool for sustainable development.